What do you make of this rescue plan? $5 billion, it's been approved. Is it going to be enough? What does it mean for the future of Cathay?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Look, overall, I think the rescue plan is a very positive sign for Cathay Pacific. What it does is it solves a number of problems that Cathay's had in the past. One of the biggest challenges Cathay had is far too much competition at its Hong Kong base, with Hong Kong Airlines, Hong Kong Express, both behaving quite irrationally. What this does is establishes a very strong relationship between the local government and the airline, and I think that's going to give a very strong foundation for the airline to be able to compete effectively going forward. It's more about the relationship with the government, and the finances just help them bridge this difficult time.
Will the money be enough, or would you expect them to have to reach out for additional funds if things like travel restrictions continue, and particularly the virus situation in Hong Kong unravels?
Look, I think they say that this money is enough to cover them for the next 12 months. I think no one's got a crystal ball exactly how long this is going to go on. We at Aviado Partners, we're far more conservative in how long we think the difficulties for airlines will be. I have a deep respect for Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines and some other similar airlines that are being very conservative about their restarts. Airlines that are very conservative about restarts will actually need less money over the short term. The reason for that is a lot of airlines that are rushing to restart now are trying to capture the last bit of peak that they can in this high season. The problem is the demand's not coming. The reason I say that's a bad thing is that it's very expensive to restart an airline. So the airlines like Cathay in Singapore that are delaying their major restarts are shifting those costs so that they will match up to when demand returns. So I think the $5 billion will tie Cathay Pacific over for quite a long time.
Is the cost-cutting that they've pursued, is it going to be enough, do you think, or do you see further measures to, for example, reduce headcount? Are they going to need to change their fleet at all?
So I think the cost-cutting is nowhere near enough. I think we have to put into context that Cathay's had 4 challenges coming into this. First of all, between 2000 and 2013, traffic that was coming out of China was traveling via Singapore and Hong Kong to Australia and New Zealand. Since 2013, that's been shifting onto direct services from China. The second issue is there's been a major global slowdown for airlines that's been going on since 2017, partially buffered by lower fuel prices, so most people haven't been seeing it. Then we had the Hong Kong government with too much competition. Then we had the difficulties in Hong Kong in 2019. Cathay already started a restructuring program over 3 years ago. My view is that the restructuring program has been largely unsuccessful because it's followed very traditional methods. It doesn't work. So if Cathay continues down the path of the restructuring plan that they were undergoing, it won't be nearly enough because we're talking about covering over 4 different problems prior to COVID-19. So I think Cathay's got to be much stricter with its restructuring. It does have the right fleet mix. It just has, in my opinion, without having done too much of the detailed work, but I believe it's got the right types of aircraft, but it's got far too many 777s and Airbus 330s in the fleet, and those need to be pulled down. Of course, that then has implications on the headcount because if the scale of the business comes down, so does the headcount.
And Shakeel, David here. So what would be your projection then of how much Cathay would likely shrink if they were to pursue, say, your prescription there of rationalizing headcount, capacity, and routes?
Yeah, it's interesting. On a global level, our opinion is that on a global level, aviation has been over capacity for quite a long time. If you look at the long-term growth rates, basically aviation in 2019 was probably close to 10% over capacity. That's not to say that certain markets were not under capacity, but as a whole, we had too much. Our view is that at the moment, with the current situation, as a whole, the global industry probably needs to drop at least 30%. Having said that, with Cathay's strong position, its strong hub structure, if it can get its cost base down, the competitiveness of the Cathay hub, the attractiveness for business, the attractiveness for tourists, the attractiveness of just the connecting geographic location, these are all very strong advantages to Cathay. So I would say, within 2 to 3 years, if we can get past COVID-19 by mid next year, then I would see Cathay probably being in the 25 to 30% reduction, whereas we need to see a lot of other airlines probably drop 40%.